If you enjoy the content, I would appreciate you hitting the subscribe button and checking out my socials. Hey, I'm Smirky, and the Tier 1 pros are finally playing Mirage on LAN. And I've already seen some interesting ways on how they use their smokes and nades for mid control. So today, I'm not only just going to show you how the pros do it one for one, I'm also going to try and teach their philosophies and principles on how they do it. But want to get individual training and CS classes for 30 days for 50 cents on your first month?
Affirmative.
Well, thanks to today's sponsor, CS2 Academy, you can.
Yes, my friends, yes!
CS2 Academy is the CS school where you can join frequent classes hosted by various pro players and coaches. In these classes, you can submit demos in the Discord to be reviewed and critiqued by the coaches, or join them in theory sessions on a map. And I will also be hosting some of these sessions myself. On top of this, they host weekly scrims where you can jump into a 5v5 with coaches on both teams, helping you during and after the game.
Our enemies tremble.
This entire course is $29 per month, but again, you can try the course for pretty much free for 30 days by using code Smirky at checkout, which equates to 12 classes. Now go on and rank up. Before I go into detail about how pro teams play the map, it's best I give context. Typically, pro teams will play Mirage in 3 phases. In any of these phases, they can stop to rotate to a site, or pretend they are doing that phase, where actually they're not. So, phase 1. This will be at the start of the round. Teams will throw a combination of Util of their choice, and phase 1 will be used in 3 main areas. The first is to bait Util from the CTs to avoid taking early damage, especially when they want to move into position for phase 2. They can use the Util to work mid, allowing them to get into positions to punish CTs wanting to peek out, and also sets them up nicely for phase 2. It can grab the CTs by distracting them with mid, meanwhile the rest of the T-side squad could be executing onto a site. Phase 2. This will be done as the Util from phase 1 is fading. So, once they are in position, they can go for another wave of Util, and this will be mainly used to stop the CTs from just swinging out. But it can be used to get deeper mid control to set them up for a potential phase 3, and it can also be used as a nice fake if they want to execute onto a site. Lastly, phase 3. The aim of phase 3 is to push into an area once you get mid control. This could range from things such as flashing into ladder, contacting con, boosting window, etc. This isn't seen as much as the other 3 phases, as by the time you get to phase 3, you may already have some kills or losses your IGL needs to call on, or you might fall away from mid to execute onto a site. Phase 1 is the opener to the round, so it's important you establish good Util for good reasons, if you don't want to get squashed. There are 3 different set pieces I've seen different teams use. The first is a window and a top mid smoke, second is a window and a con smoke, and lastly we have a window smoke with flashbangs. By far, the most common set piece I've seen teams use is a smoke on window and top mid. This is great for denying information from short and connector. You also have other benefits, as it's great for baiting Util and excellent as a fake. Most teams will get a player to smoke window using the insta lineup, but alternatively you can use this lineup by standing next to this bin, put your crosshair in line with this dark part of the wall and aim to the left. When ready, hold right and jump throw. And you need another player to smoke top mid from either bin or to the right of this step. Most teams will use these set pieces to bait initial CT Util rather than quickly jump into the mid boxes or sending it down mid. This avoids you taking unnecessary damage, but also baits the CTs into using their own util if they want to contest mid. After waiting, they can get into position in mid and maybe go to phase 2. Do be aware if you play passively for too long with no contention, it can give the CTs a reason to push or bully you out of mid. This set piece could also be used to work mid. You can sit behind your smokes, maybe throw a molly before or after the CT's barrage of util, and then move into position for phase 2. Another way of working is by getting into position to catch CTs swinging out. For example, in round 8, you can see Apeks is going to run by his smokes at the start of the round and place himself at bucket. From this position, he leaves a little gap to spot CTs running up mid, but he can also peek out into short and perhaps fight a CT on a timing. In round 12, again, Apeks is going to cross to bucket, but we'll also have him top mid, peeking out into mid for fights and control. I just want to say though, do be aware, as you could be visible from connector if you are wanting to flash or molly connector. But in this round, Apeks died because blade was delayed. And also be careful of mid or connector smokes, as in general, I've seen teams have set lineups to remove your smokes to try and go for surprise fights. Another combination I saw was the window and con smoke set piece. This heavily reduces the impact possibility from con and window, but the CTs have the option to peek out of short, into top mid or boost under. You can use the standard lineup to smoke con, where you stand in this corner of the spin, aim in line with the concrete and the middle of the balcony, then jump throw. Alternatively, I saw Apeks throw this interesting smoke where if you stand next to the bin, aim at this mark in the carpet and jump throw. It lands on this ledge where it covers the top of con. I'm not fully sure what the meaning behind the smoke is. It could be that they want a bit of a gap to still fight con, but does also mean the CTs can't fight back. However, they can't fight from the top of connector, blocking top mid and cat. In round 3 for Apeks, this goes pretty well, as they will throw the initial smokes, the mid guys will go top mid, waiting for any CTs to enter their crosshairs. Meanwhile you have Jacob coming out of under, where he catches him running through the smoke, but you can see how less impactful the comp play can be with the smoke up. You can also use these smokes to play aggressive. We can see Apeks will use these smokes to swing out mid, getting the opening onto him. And later running fast down cat to get another kill onto JL. This is a change of pace, as most teams will play these phases pretty slow, but a sudden change and not following the tradition can catch your opponents off guard. And if you wanted to, you can also use these smokes to fake phase 1, but actually do an execute like in round 14 for vitality. But do be aware, the short player can peek out and get the critical information, so it's best to flash him. Lastly, we just have a window smoke with a lot of flashes. This is mainly used as a minimal and or a quick aggressive method to push down cat for fast fights. But do be aware, there are quite a few positions open if you don't have a teammate or util covering it. I'll start with the aggressive section first, as that's what it's mainly used for. In round 8, we're going to see Kaisen throw a window smoke and a flash from mid. Meanwhile, the rest of his team will just barrel down mid, looking for plays in short and connector, and does get the opening kill onto Blade, who tried to contest mid. With vitality, we saw the same smoke come into play, but with less players. They threw 2 flashbangs coming out of mid to blind players coming out of connector or window, and a flash behind boxes to again get players in window or players KZing onto short. With these flashes, we will see Zyru swiftly make his way down into Cat, getting ported onto Con with Zorb. Meanwhile, Flames is holding his short. After a short period, we're gonna see them enter phase 2 as Flames throws a molly onto short, giving Zyru room to move, and another window smoke. But as we know with high risks, it can lead to failure, and with such an aggressive start in phase 2, there have been a few. Take round 18 for example. Mouz ran this against Navi, trying to have a similar approach to Vitality in the last clip, but Torzi doesn't quite get the kill onto him, giving Navi a man advantage. But on the plus side, they do get mid control pretty early, and they later move to phase 2 by resmoking window. Or what about round 27, where Vitality wanted to change the pace, but lost Apeks early, then led to Zyru. But I will say their flashbangs wasn't very good, as it didn't affect Zorti coming out of Khan, and Nafi had a nice lineup from window. But of course with these smokes, you can use it in similar ways we've seen with other set pieces. So for example, you can use the smoke to fake your want in mid control with maybe a player or 2 selling it, and execute or split onto a site. Another use I saw with these smokes was to get a player boosted top mid. This can be pretty special, as you can bait the CTs to peek on using flashes and smokes, and when they peek, they will give you a nice opener. Or you could just use the smoke to get into position at bucket or wait top mid, waiting for CTs to push or waste their own util. When the smoke starts to fade at window, you can move to phase 2. Phase 2 is the second wave of util after phase 1. Its purpose is to go for full mid control, allowing the team to move their way down from top mid and get players out of under, typically going for connector control. Let's first take a look at what pieces of util teams will use in phase 2. From watching these demos, all teams will always have a window smoke. This removes the danger of being randomly peeked from window, as it often does. In round 8, we can see Alexi B is done waiting at top mid, so now that his smoke is fading, he's gonna resmoke it. He does this by standing into this corner and putting his crosshair in line between the cart and the box, and you can aim in line with this corner and just left click throw. In this round specifically, Navi will make their way down mid, wanting to challenge short and connector, but gets blocked by CT Util. Making sure they can still challenge mid without worrying about window, they replenish their smoke, which eventually baits Mouz into peeking where Navi punish. But the most common util I saw for phase 2 was a window and a con smoke. This allows players from top mid and under to clear con without worrying about the many angles in A. And if a CT was to stick around in connector, it may end very unfortunately. To do this set piece, you can get a player in top mid like Flames to flash con, allowing Apeks to peek out from under. Once he has cleared the angle, he can run and left click for the smoke, landing top con, forcing any CTs to fall off to avoid isolation. Meanwhile, Flame smokes window after flashing con, gaining mid control, and later sets up for phase 3. If your team is all coming from top mid and none from under, you can get a player like Alexi B to smoke connector from top mid by standing in this left corner, aiming near the corner of this palm tree, then left click throw. If Alexi B had a flash, he could also use it for connector. and Im will smoke off window. It doesn't really matter who does the smokes in what order, as long as they are there, and of course, you're calming what you're smoking. In this round, Navi tries to double peek connector using cat and mid, but JL gets caught by Torje from CT where Im can't trade. May have been best to wait for the smoke to bloom first. You don't have to fully commit to phase 2. You can use your utility to fake the control, grabbing the CT's attention, but actually execute onto a site. In round 12 against Mouz, this was done perfectly. Navi is going to throw phase 1 Util, and judging from the map early in the round, Alexi called this from spawn, as most of his plays are leaning B. As the CTs are wasting their time with mid, Navi are creeping, preparing for their B execute. Navi will enter phase 2 where they resmoke window and throw their Util short, trying to grab the short player's attention. Then suddenly, Navi comes out of apps with one smoke and one flash, to not give themselves away, allowing them to surprise the B players and gain the site. But you don't have to have this pre-planned from spawn. In round 3 for Apeks, they were able to get mid control after an opener and throws a window smoke to fake phase 2. With this, 3 out of 4 players are going to head B for an execute. Meanwhile, Kaizen remains mid, using Util to make the CTs think they are still doing phase 2, and ready to punish any peaks. And actually, this does a pretty good job, keeping Blaze's attention around A, and Alexi B temporarily falls away from B, but Jacob made a sound cue which JL heard. Nevertheless, they will still get the site by trading. And I want to quickly talk about round 8 very briefly, as I think you get the point, but they did something similar where they get mid control, leave a player in mid to lurk and fake, and the rest of the players will rotate to a site the IGL chooses to execute as a group. So when I watch teams play, they very commonly wait at top mid in phase 1, then they take space with phase 2, taking mid and connector. But what about these areas? Teams may not always go into phase 3, as they might rotate to a site to execute or do a split. But sometimes you may see phase 3 where teams will push into enemy territory such as window, ladder, short, or out of con. So let's talk about some plays you can make if you want to do phase 3. Let's first look at short aggression from Vitality. They have just done phase 2 smokes, so connector is smoked off. To help take short, Apeks from under will use bench to peek into short. Afterwards, he decides to molly short, but if you want a more sneaky approach, you can just hold it. Meanwhile, Flames is creeping up cat, watching con for any hostiles. He makes his way close to the left wall, where he gets flashed into ladder from Apeks, but could have got one from Zyru if he had one. These steps to take ladder in phase 3 were expertly done, with every risk being under control. Another common move you can do in phase 2 is sneaking into window. Sneaking into window can be an effective way to exploit the CT's defense. You can see in this round, while Exertion jumped into window using bench, the gap in the CT defense is window. As a CT, it's difficult to cover all entrances if you have a player missing. But unfortunately, as he tries to come out, Bit is rotating through jungle, as Mouz have 2 players fighting on B, and he gets caught. Something I might suggest if you are wanting to attack window is just to sit in this angle. I've seen Hunter do this before, and I think it's a pretty effective way to catch CTs checking or rotating through window. Alternatively, you can use connector to try and lurk out. And again, if the CTs are at a disadvantage, there may be a hole in the defense in which the comp player might be trying to cover window or jiggle between both. In round 10, we will see Navi will throw phase 2 smokes, and Im will make his way into connector and look through the top con smoke, making his way into jungle. Due to Mouz having a disadvantage, this leaves a hole in the defense where Torje is trying to cover window from CT, but Im gets a beautiful timing and makes his way into B through market. You could try to lurk into stairs like with Vitality. In this round, it's not really a lurk but more of a split, but we still see the smoke is effective for lurking, as it allows Flames to get onto stairs, uncontested, and later kill Danny sandwich. You're struggling to rush A on the T side of Nuke. Check out this video I did, where I showcase how G2 rushes onto the A site on the T side of Nuke. That video can be found in the description. Apart from that, thanks for watching, cheers goes to you for the sponsor, and see ya in a bit.